All right, here I am at the 9th Street Railroad Crossings here in Rochelle, Illinois. Now, these two railroad crossings, yes, I'm going to say these two since they're pretty much right next to each other. I'm gonna go ahead and tour them both in the same video. Now, these two railroad crossings right here may seem familiar to a lot of y'all because these are the rather iconic railroad crossings right by the Rochelle, Illinois Rail Park and Railroad Museum, owned by the BNSF Aurora subdivision, which is the crossing right in front of me. And the far crossing over there is owned by the Union Pacific Geneva subdivision. Now, these two crossings, I decided to go out and tour them since I'll be in Rochelle for a little bit for today. And I wanted to tour more since some of the setups around here are kind of neat, but this is all I got time for today, so I decided just to tour the more iconic one for today. So these two crossings have some pretty neat equipment and quite a few things to mention, I have to say. And especially since this line right here is technically the BNSF racetrack, but it goes west but after you go west on it out of Aurora, it changes to the Aurora subdivision instead of the Geneva, not the Geneva, like the Chicago sub. That's where it's called over there. So yeah, I guess with all that said, I'll explain everything as I go on. So with that said, let's get on to it. So for the first signal at 9th Street, number 1, this has a us&s 5-inch base. And here's the emergency information in the dot tag, and the dot number is 069801M. And this appears to be like an early 2010s us&s install. And for the gate mechanism, which is kind of rare, this has a us&s Model 95 3rd generation gate mechanism. Or I think this is a 2nd gen gate mechanism. Yes, I could tell by the lettering, which these are substantially a little more uncommon than the ones that you see like more around on the CN Flint sub or whatever. But yeah, and the gate features some Ricoh LED gate lights and a wind guard, and this gate mechanism does have a pedestrian gate, which also has a singular Ricoh LED gate light and a counterweight on the pedestrian gate arm, as you can see, connected to the gate mechanism itself. And for the lights, this has 2 pairs of us&s 12 by 24 inch dialight LEDs sitting on a us&s light bracket. Kind of neat to see here, pretty much an install from us&s's final days, because they went defunct around 2013, 2014. And for a bell, this has a Safetran Type 3 electronic bell, low tone. So yeah, that's the first signal for you. Pretty neat stuff. I really like the us&s setup that BNSF offers over here. So yeah, I guess with that said, now let's move on to I wouldn't say this isn't the next signal, but here's the pedestrian gate on the opposite side of the south side of the crossing, per se. So yeah, for this little thing, this has an L&W 5-inch base, as you can see. And the gate mechanism is another us&s Model 95 2nd or 3rd gen gate mechanism. I can't remember what style font, what generation this exactly is, but I believe it's a 2nd gen, judging from the E-bells installed here. But yeah, and the gate features a singular Ricoh LED gate light. So yeah, that's the first pedestrian gate. Now let's go ahead and tour the other one, which is over here on the other side, or the north side of the first crossing on this road. So this pedestrian gate mechanism features a us&s 5-inch base and another us&s Model 95 2nd generation gate mechanism and a singular Ricoh LED gate light. So pretty neat stuff, I have to say here. Now let's go ahead and move past the standalone pedestrian gate mechs and move on to the second signal, like the second signal with lights and a bell. So here is the second signal, which is somewhat similar to the first. This one has a Safetran base. Excuse me. And here's the emergency information once again. Excuse me for a sec. I gotta be alert over here because since this crossing, as you can see, one thing worth mentioning, that both of these crossings are a quiet zone. I have to keep on a lookout because trains might sneak up on you at any time, unless you're looking at the ATCS monitor. But yeah. And for the gate mechanism, this one, once again, this has another us&s. I believe this is actually the 1st gen. Yep, this is the us&s Model 95 1st gen gate mechanism. I believe this is either refurbished or they just came out with, they just installed this mast here before they made the 2nd gen. But yeah, and the gate lights are Ricoh LED gate lights and a wind guard on the mast, as well as the pedestrian gate with a Ricoh LED gate light. And this does have a pedestrian gate, like I said, right attached to the gate mechanism itself. And for the lights, this has 3 more pairs of us&s 12 by 24 inch dialight LEDs sitting on us&s light brackets. As you can see, there's the side lights pointing towards what used to be a road at that facility. Not sure what those are there for, but they're there. So yep, us&s light brackets. And for a bell, this has another Safetran Type 3 electronic bell, low tone. Now, I completely forgot what used to be here. I believe 8-inch lights or something in the past. But this crossing setup, being how rare it is, it has held up because us&s and WABCO built their stuff really well to last. So yeah, that was the 9th Street #1 railroad crossing here in Rochelle, Illinois. Here's the relay case. Yep, and we got a train coming, so I might have to stop this in a little bit. So yeah, I guess all that said, let's go to take a look at the track view. Down there is heading west right towards the Rochelle Diamond. You can see where the tracks curve and eventually heads towards more railroad crossings. I forgot the names of them. But down there is heading east towards another railroad crossing at 7th Street, and then Main Street, and also a few bridges. Quite a lot to see here. So yeah, I guess that said, this was the 9th Street railroad crossing #1 in Rochelle. Now let's move on to the railroad crossing #2, owned by the Union Pacific Geneva sub, after I catch this train. So I guess that said, let's go ahead and cut to this next crossing. Actually, I may have some time to actually tour this second crossing since there isn't as much to feature as the first one. So here is the second crossing owned by Union Pacific. So yeah, this one has a completely different setup from the first. So to start off, so for the first signal, this has a Western Cullen Hayes base. And here's the emergency information, the dot tag for the Geneva sub for Union Pacific, and the dot number is 175122N. And for the gate mechanism, this has a Western Cullen Hayes gate mechanism, newer generation. And the gate features some Rico LED gate lights, no wind guard on this mast. And for the lights, this has 2 pairs of Western Cullen Hayes 12x24-inch light heads with, I believe, Electrotech LEDs in them. Or these might be Western Cullen Hayes either first-gen LEDs, or I'm not totally sure what these are. These might be the first-gen LEDs. I could be wrong, though. But these are all sitting on a WRS light bracket. And for a bell, this has a Western Cullen Hayes electronic bell, Type 2, I believe, judging from the sound. So yeah, that was the first signal to feature here. Now let's go ahead and move on to the second signal. So here's the second final signal of 9th Street, which is similar to the first one that I just toured on the Union Pacific Geneva sub. This has another Western Cullen Hayes base, as you can see. And here's the emergency information once again. And this feature, and for the gate mech, this has another W.C. Hayes newer generation gate mechanism, Western Cullen Hayes newer gen gate mech. And the gate features some more Rico LED gate lights, no wind guard on this mast either. And for the lights, this has 2 more pairs of Western Cullen Hayes 12x24-inch, I believe, first-gen LEDs, or the light heads with Electrotech LEDs in them. Can't really tell from here. And these are also sitting on a WRS light bracket, as you can see. And for bell, this has another Western Cullen Hayes Type 2 electronic bell. Now, one thing worth mentioning, that this Western Cullen Hayes e-bell rings faster than the first one. This one rings a little bit slower, but this one rings like pretty fast. So yeah, that right there was the 9th Street #2 railroad crossing owned by the UP Geneva sub. Here's the relay case sitting at milepost 75.11. And like that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the track view. Even though it technically heads towards the same places, yep, down there is heading east towards 7th Street and Main Street and the other railroad crossings, eventually towards the Dement control point. Yes, it's actually called CP Dement. Not joking. So yeah, and down there is heading west right towards a diamond, and eventually these tracks curve into a yard and also a transfer track if you look over there, like a transfer Y. It's kind of cool. And if you look over here, you can see an old Milwaukee Road, I think that's a Milwaukee Road, caboose, and the old diamond grade that used to be here in Rochelle. It's just still sitting there. So yeah, I guess all that said, this was the 9th Street railroad crossings #1 and #2. I can hear the train, so I better hurry this up. And I guess one thing worth mentioning, here's the old signal that used to be here at 9th Street with all WRS equipment. I did show this in my live stream. Yep, right here with an old WRS gate mech, incandescent lights, and a Western Cullen Hayes mechanical bell. Kind of cool. Yep. Let me see if I can shake the mast. Yep, this signal right here used to be installed on the UP. And yeah, I think that's what it is. So I better hurry this up and end this. So I guess with all that said, over and out for this one.